Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today, BricsCAD Seeing is Believing. I'm Don. With me on stage, my friends Julie and Robert, and just behind the wings, Heidi and Anna Maria are standing by to answer your questions about BricsCAD. Today, I'll start out. We'll talk briefly about who is Brixis and what is BricsCAD. Then Julie will introduce you to the software with a demo that will make you feel very much at home. And Robert will wrap up with a demonstration of BricsCAD's compatibility, learnability, and especially ease of administration. So who is Brixis? We are a global provider of affordable, modern CAD, BIM, mechanical design, and common data environment products brought to market under the BricsCAD and Brixis 24/7 brands. We're a part of Hexagon AB. Brixis as a company has been around for almost 20 years, and we have product users in over 110 countries. Headquarters for Brixis is in Ghent, Belgium, with 200 plus employees spread out around the globe in 8 different countries. Now, what is BricsCAD? Well, BricsCAD is a family of CAD products. It is the cost-effective alternative to the popular CAD or LT-CAD, BIM, and mechanical products that you use today. When I say family, what do I mean? Within the BricsCAD product family are additions for 2D, 3D, BIM, and mechanical design. They all fit together into a single product and a single installer that we call BricsCAD Ultimate. When you download the 30-day free trial of BricsCAD, you get BricsCAD Ultimate, all of the products in a single package. When you purchase BricsCAD, your license code enables your specific edition. You can download BricsCAD once and you're ready to go. When your trial is over, you can convert your installation to production by simply entering a valid license key. And it's all backed up by Brixis 24/7, our cloud-based collaboration and data storage environment. In BricsCAD is a panel that allows you to access 24/7, share and view files, and communicate with your peers and friends around the world that are using BricsCAD. Now, why BricsCAD? Well, there are several things that we will bring home to you today. Number one, BricsCAD is eminently affordable. I'll show you that next. It is highly UI, user interface, and user experience compatible with Autodesk's AutoCAD. Therefore, it is very easy for AutoCAD users to learn BricsCAD. BricsCAD is flexible. We offer many license types that our competitors no longer offer. And after the demonstration by Julie, Robert will tell you a lot more about how easy it is to deploy and manage BricsCAD in your company. Now let's do that quick pricing comparison. BricsCAD is available as a perpetual license. Let's do the first calculation based on the cost of BricsCAD Pro as a perpetual license. Buy it once, use it as long as your computer will support it. The maintenance makes sure that you're up to date with BricsCAD all the time, that you have the latest major versions, that you have access to priority product support, and also access to Brixis 24/7. Next, let's take a look at subscription, because some customers see value in subscribing to BricsCAD or renting BricsCAD instead of owning it. You can see the cost again. $640 USD per year is the suggested retail price, and you can see that total across 3 years. Now, let's look at AutoCAD subscription based on, again, Autodesk's manufacturer suggested retail price. From this chart, we can draw 3 very fast conclusions. First, You can buy BricsCAD Perpetual for less than the cost of 1 year of AutoCAD subscription. Next, BricsCAD maintenance is about 15% the cost of a year of AutoCAD subscription. So for that minor fee, year over year, you can always keep your BricsCAD license up to date with the latest features, functions, and workflows from Brixis. And finally, over 3 years, BricsCAD still costs less than a year of AutoCAD subscription. A very important thing for you to consider in these times. Now, I talked for a moment about licensing. We like to say, your license, your way, your choice from Brixis, BricsCAD. The most flexible licensing model that's available in the industry today. First, we still offer perpetual licenses. Maintenance is an option for you. We do this because our customers tell us that this is a very important licensing option. They want to own their software. Of course, if you want to subscribe, we make it easy and very, very affordable. Also, a single BricsCAD license supports any language in any location. You don't need to ask our permission to use your BricsCAD license in a different locale. And we won't charge you extra for the privilege either. And finally, network, multi-user, and volume licenses round out our offerings. You can choose to mix and match these licenses as it makes sense for your business. Now back to compatibility. A quick story. Robert does a lot of sessions in companies that he calls lunch and learn. We bring in some food for lunch. All of the participants bring their laptop computers. They install BricsCAD. They work with it over the hour. They enjoy their lunch. They go back to their desks and they're able to start using BricsCAD immediately. And by the end of the afternoon, they're proficient with the product. The high compatibility of BricsCAD with AutoCAD is the key. Your keyboard shortcuts, menus, Lisp routines, sheet sets, templates, and of course, oh yes, all of your DWG files are totally compatible with BricsCAD. BricsCAD is an all-in-one CAD platform. Start in 2D with what you know. Move to 3D, BIM, or mechanical design without starting from scratch. Now, keeping training costs down today for 2D CAD and tomorrow for 3D modeling, BIM, and mechanical. That's the story of BricsCAD. Next, what I'd like to do is invite my colleague, Julie Kaveri, into the stage. She'll show you more about how familiar BricsCAD is for AutoCAD users today. Julie, let me switch the presenter over to you and take it away.
All right, you see my screen. So today I'll be showing you just how familiar and similar BricsCAD is to AutoCAD, coming from a user's point of view. I'll also point out a few things that are different from AutoCAD in a good way. And let's start with the UI. Of course, we have the ribbon, many toolbars up top, the panel here, command line, as well as the status bar. And of course, you can change what you see on your screen. For those AutoCAD users that like the menu bar, you can have the menu bar. If you like toolbars, you can have all the toolbars. If there are other panels that you want to see, you can display them or not. And for those of you that like to work with a clean screen, you can have that clean screen. The Start tab is where you create your new drawings from a template, whether it's a BricsCAD standard template or your own. As you know, save your DWG as a DWT to create your templates, or open existing drawings from here, and notice these are DWGs. The list of your recent files is here, along with the path of where it's located, and access learning tutorials and sample files from the Learn tab, and view third-party applications from the Applications tab. Any open drawings are displayed as tabs at the top of the window. All familiar, all similar to AutoCAD. Now I'm ready to put some finishing touches on this plan, and then I'll create a PDF. First thing to do is to add some dimensions. And of course, I can use the dimension menu from the menu bar, the annotate tab in the ribbon, and the dimensions toolbar. I can start dimensioning just like you do. Turn on my snaps. Continue on. But I see there's something amiss with my dimension style. My text is very minuscule, so I do have some other dimension styles in my drawing. I just don't know what is in those styles, so I need to look at the dim styles. And if my memory serves me right, I can just type DDIM at the command line, and that brings me into the Drawing Explorer. This is one of those tools that is different from BricsCAD, and that's a good thing. Here we can see we're right in the Dimension Styles area of the Drawing Explorer, and over here on the right are all of the settings for this dimension style. We can take a look and see that yes, the arrow is very small, as is the text. Let's look at this style, and we can see that's a little bigger, so that might work, but I still don't know all of what's different between these two styles. Now, BricsCAD makes that very easy for me to see by highlighting those differences in blue. So that's very helpful, but that's still a lot of information to look at. So BricsCAD makes it even easier by showing me only the differences between these two styles. So by looking at that, I can say that I need to be using this dimension style. So we'll go back to the drawing and update that just like you do in AutoCAD, and that looks much better. Before I continue though, I need to check the layer that I'm working on because I think I'm on the wrong layer, and I am. I'm on layer 0. I should be working on my dimension layer. I don't even see that in my drawing. I'll go back to the Drawing Explorer to copy some layers from another drawing. The Drawing Explorer lets us explore other drawings, and this is where BricsCAD manages all of the style definitions here. So we can go to the layer style or the layers area here. I need these two layers in my current drawing. I could use the copy and paste buttons up here, but instead I'll just drag and drop those layers into my current drawing. We see they're now here in my Drawing Explorer. I see the layers as well as over in my layers panel. And now we can update the layer that these dimensions are on, just like you do in AutoCAD. Or I can do it a little bit differently by just hovering over that dimension, which brings up the quad menu, which is different. And from the quad menu, I can simply change the layer there too. So very quick and easy to do. Something else that I need to do is add a label for these plans, a title. Again, I know that I have a block that I'd like to reuse from another drawing. I could, again, go back to the Drawing Explorer, but instead, I'll use the content browser. Just like in AutoCAD, sometimes there's more ways than one to do the same thing. Now, the content browser is a panel that lets you view the contents of other drawings, as well as dig down to see different blocks that are in that drawing. And this is the label that I want to use. So I'll just drag and drop that in to my drawing. I'll place it twice, and I can see that there are attributes with this block. So we'll fill that information in. Just like I do in AutoCAD. So my labels are done. The next step is to add paper space layouts. Creating paper space layouts in BricsCAD is very similar to how you do it in AutoCAD, simply clicking the little plus sign, or we can right-click on a layout tab, create them, delete them, move them, copy them, just like you would in AutoCAD. And of course, if I want to type it, just type layout and I have those same familiar options. Another tool that's different in BricsCAD is this little icon here to the left of model. That's our layout manager. This is a quick way to manage your layouts. I can create them, delete them, change the order. I can also filter or search. And also, when I'm in the layout manager, if I just double click on that layout, it takes me directly to that layout tab. Just like in AutoCAD, when a viewport is created, when a layout's created, one viewport is created. And just like in AutoCAD, I can VP lock that down from the status bar as well. You control the viewport, so if you don't like that one, again, just type in viewports, and that's done. Of course, you can use the menus from the ribbon, from the pull downs, or also from the toolbars. So my layouts are set. Let's see, we've got a couple here. I've got a plan view. I have the beginning of a cover sheet, but I don't have a title block for my cover sheet. So again, we'll go back to the content browser and drag and drop my title block in. I see there are more attributes there, so let me fill in a few of those. Again, just like I would do in AutoCAD. Think you get the idea. It's just the same. And there are those attributes. Now, dragging and dropping those blocks from the content manager is quick and easy. I know I'll use those blocks often, so I want to add them to my tool palette. And that's very easy to do. We'll go back to Drawing Explorer, to the drawing that they're located. Here are the two blocks that I want, and with just the click of one button, I can add them to my current palette. Here they are, ready to be drag and dropped into my drawing. Can't be any easier than that. All right, at this point, I'm ready to print this to a PDF. So of course, we're going to go to Page Setup. Very familiar, looks just like it does in AutoCAD. I can choose my printer, my plotter, my pen tables, all my orientations. Everything is the same. My paper size. I can have a preview of what this might look like. That looks pretty good. So that's good. Now we just need to publish. Again, this all looks very familiar. If you have sheet lists, you can use those. We're going to print the layouts to a PDF. Here are all my PDF options. That all looks good, so we'll go ahead and create the PDF. So what I've shown you so far in BricsCAD is very familiar and very similar to AutoCAD. And remember, BricsCAD is built on the native DWG file format. So here's my first sheet. Here's my second sheet. Now, looking at this, I realize there are still some things I need to clean up on my drawing. So let me go back to the model, and right in here, I need to copy this chair to a few more locations. And instead of using the regular copy command, I'm going to use copy guided. This is one of the AI tools that we have that just does so much more than copy. And when I make my selection, anything that is completely within my selection window is going to be copied, and anything that crosses my window is going to be my alignment curves. And what that means is when I move my cursor towards the matching geometry, you see how the chair just kind of snaps into place. But it's also smart enough to ignore the geometry that doesn't match. And smart also in that it recognizes that geometry even if it's at a different angle or even if it's on a curve. So that's pretty sweet. Also, I've noticed that these chairs and desks are just entities. Now, at one point, they were blocks and arrays, similar to what I have up here. So, of course, I would like these to once again be blocks, and I can do that with the blockify command. I'll not only make them a block, but also make sure that they are replacing the patterns with arrays. Simply select what I want to be those blocks and arrays, and literally that quick, BricsCAD has created those blocks and arrays just as if I had created the blocks and arrays. So I can edit that array, but BricsCAD did it so much faster. Now, Blockify and Copy Guided can do so much more than what I've shown you here. We've highlighted these tools in previous webinars. So if you haven't watched those webinars, I'd encourage you to go back and take a look because there's a lot of great tools there. Now, one last thing that I've also noticed is I have a lot of entities on layer 0. So right now I've opened the structure browser, and this is just an interactive view of entities in my model. And we can see that I have 309 lines. And this is the structure browser can also be used as an analysis tool. So we can kind of take a look at where these lines are, 309 of them, but they look kind of strange. And actually, if we look at the properties panel, we see that the length of the line is 0. So these are 0 length lines, which I don't want any of those, so we'll just delete those. But that makes me wonder, do I have other areas of my drawing that might have 0 length lines? So we can now go to the properties panel and look at the filter and filter on different entities and any combination of properties. And again, I'm concerned with that 0 length. And yes, I have more of these 0 length lines. So this identifies them for me, and I can go ahead and delete those. So that shows you how the structure browser and the properties panel can be very helpful in analyzing and cleaning up your drawings. This is another difference between BricsCAD and AutoCAD. And again, it's a good thing. So this was a quick look at how familiar and similar BricsCAD is to AutoCAD from a user's point of view. And also it shows you how learnable BricsCAD is. With that, I'll hand it back to Don.
Thank you, Julie. That was really spectacular. Super presentation. I'm going to now pass the screen and the microphone over to Mr. Robert Green, and he's going to take us through some of the settings and CAD manager aspects of configuring BricsCAD to do just what you want it to do.
Thanks very much, Don. And thanks everyone for attending the webinar tonight, our time. And my job as the Director of Implementation at Brixis is really to make sure that companies like yours have a straightforward and simple time bringing BricsCAD into your production environment. So I'm always looking for tips and tricks and answers to common questions and things that I may pass along, particularly to CAD managers and power users who I find are often responsible for helping train other users. So what I'm going to do here is a two-piece demo. We're going to do actually a live demo to show you some things in BricsCAD itself. And then I'll wrap up with some information on some PowerPoint slides that I think will be useful for you as well. So let me go ahead and switch my display over to BricsCAD, and we'll just go ahead and jump in. So when I do lunch and learns or initial exposure training for users, they typically come in with a bit of a chip on their shoulder. Why should I learn this? Wow, I bet it's really going to be different. And it really isn't. So here's some of the things that I typically take new users through right away on BricsCAD. One of the first things you probably noticed is that as Julie was moving around the interface, as she was clicking and picking on things, you saw this input called the quad. And you also saw her doing some things with the hotkey assistant. You may not have noticed it, but it was there. And this is actually a machine learning algorithm that keeps track of what commands you're using and starts to make contextual judgments about what commands you most likely want to use. So this is actually, it's much more sophisticated than a simple menuing system. And if you give it a chance, I think you'll find that you really like it and that there's quite a lot of power there. But I'm aware that when you bring an AutoCAD user onto BricsCAD for the first few minutes, they may just want it to work exactly like AutoCAD. So let me show you how we have control over how this works. What I'll do is come down here to the bottom corner of the screen, and I will toggle the quad off, and I will also toggle the hotkey assistant off. What we now have is BricsCAD. Basically, we've kind of got the AutoCAD training wheels on it here, so it'll work exactly like AutoCAD. And you'll be able to now move through and click and pick and right click and shift right click to get the kind of menus that you've always been used to. So that's usually the first thing I get asked. Now, the second thing I want to go over is that at some point, usually within, the first 20 or 30 minutes of using AutoCAD, at some point, somebody wants to make a variable change. This means in an AutoCAD environment, you're going into the options command. And when you go into the options command, you're met with a graphical tabular interface that has can be anything from 8 up to 13 different tabs, depending on the vertical you're in. And trying to remember which one of those tabs the variable setting is in can sometimes be a bit of a guessing game. So if we go into options here from BricsCAD, I'm just keying it in, we're going to go into our settings menu. We actually do a command alias for that so that options takes you in here. And of course, this does not look like options. So what I want to do right now is show you why this is superior to the options command that you're already used to. So for example, let's say that we wanted to change our dimension style, but we didn't know where that was. Well, we know what the system variable is, it's dim style. So in our search box right up here, I'm just going to key in dim style, and it's going to take me right there. I didn't have to know which logical program grouping this was in. It just simply took me right there. Now, what if I knew sort of what I wanted to do, like I wanted to change the unit system, but I couldn't remember the exact system variable for that. So what I'll do is I'll just start typing in like units, and it takes me straight here to the drawing units where I can change insertion or measuring parameters. So it takes me right to the right section of all the variables I would want. And it's very easy then to go ahead and find the answer to that. Now, what if we had something that was more like a needle in a haystack? I kind of know how to describe what I want to do. I want to change the background color on my model space tab. Well, okay, I don't know what the name of that variable is, so I'll go ahead and type in background. Well, that's hatch background. No, that's not it. Shading edges are right here. The edges in background is where it hit there. Text fill, no background. Background color, bingo. So we've got there. So this is allowing us to just step through all of the system variables, whether they're local to the drawing, whether they're registry values. There's over 900 of them, and you can see how quickly I'm able to step through them. Now, I'll just change this. I have it black presently. I'll set it to our standard 251 gray interface. Now, what you couldn't see, but I'm going to call out, is that by making a change to that setting, that variable there will be highlighted blue. Now, as a CAD manager, I can come into a user's computer and I can easily go through settings and scroll down through it. And anytime I see highlighted text that's blue, I know it's something the user has changed. So if I'm ever called over to their machine to figure out where they've gone wrong or where they may have set something inappropriately, this is of great assistance. So what I did here was just take you through kind of a brief showing of how our settings interface work, which I think is superior to the options command that you find in AutoCAD. Next major area of questions that I certainly get is customization. So we typically think about CUI files, and this is where we think about ribbon tabs or pull down menus like we see here. Later we'll talk about palettes. So how are these things implemented? Well, I want to show you the customized interface, and I'm going to answer another question that I frequently get, which has to do with command aliases. So it turns out that we manage our command aliases in the same customized panel that we use to manage all of our menus and toolbars and ribbons. So right here we see, well, we can scroll down here through here alphabetically and we can see that C means circle. Good enough. Well, what if in my organization we've standardized on CR means circle? So it's very easy for us to do an add, create an alias CR, and we'll just make that circle. I just typed it, or you could have picked it from the drop-down list, either way. I'll go ahead and acknowledge that with an OK, and we see that the list resorts, I'm brought down here to the CR circle. That's been done. And now, unbeknownst to you, what actually happened in the background is that the PGP file has been updated and the system has been reinitialized. So you don't have to get out of here and do a reinit. You don't have to restart BricsCAD. Everything is handled on the fly. And by the way, I'll just click this Manage Your Customizations button down here. This is how we manage user-specific customization. You don't have to worry about things like an offline partial CUI file. We maintain that for you. And one of the things that we maintain for you there has to do with the program parameters file, or PGP file, which we call default PGP. And I'm going to open this dialog box just a bit here so that we can see that. Here we go. You'll see that as we saw in the settings dialog, that anything that was changed or modified gets a blue color. So here we're able to tell the last time I touched this file. We're able to tell where the original file came from, and we're able to tell where the modified default PGP file has been set. So it's very easy to track this down. No chasing through multiple search paths or any of the things that I've typically had to do in the options screen in AutoCAD. Real simple, real straightforward. Now I'm going to go ahead and dismiss this and say OK here. And right now our CR command would work for circle just the same as C would. Everything has been done there for us. Next thing I want to take a look at is the idea of bringing over custom palette content. Now, this is something that a lot of companies do, typically for things like block interfaces is a very common usage scenario. So I just want to walk you through that briefly. What I've got here is the palette interface already pulled up, and we see that we've got a few palettes here. I'm simply going to right-click somewhere in the palette field. I'm going to go into Customize Palettes. And in here, I'm going to right-click under Available Palettes and perform an import. Now at this point, I can select any XTP file that's been exported out from AutoCAD. So if I had palettes over there, I simply export them to an XTP, I bring them over into BricsCAD, and so long as the block files are actually on the machine or on the network drive in the place where the palette expects it, everything is going to work just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and open the XTP file right here, and we'll see that that gets updated. It's present here in the palettes list, so I'll go ahead and close it. I'll bring the focus to that right here, and we can see that everything has in fact been brought over. I'm going to right click on one of these just randomly and show you that the properties were also brought over. So this would be anything like the name of the block, anything with properties with things like scales or rotation parameters, prompting for rotations turned off here, for example. So all these are parameters that were brought over when the palette was exported and re-imported into BricsCAD. So that's all there is to it. Seriously, it's a very straightforward migration. And now that we've got this, it's drag and drop simple. So anybody who's ever used a tool palette is very familiar with this. So no problems there. Very straightforward. Let's move to the next item I wanted to show you about, which has to do with Lisp Utilities. If you've been using AutoCAD for a long time, chances are excellent that you've built up a library of Lisp routines at some point. So here's one, for example, that we used with a client demonstration a few weeks ago, Julie and I did. And this has some utilities for reading out areas from drawings in multiple unit systems. So it's areas.lsp. And here's the code. By the way, I'm showing you this code in Blade, the Lisp advanced development environment that we have. So this is a debugging tool. It's actually quite superior to VLIDE in my opinion. So anybody who does Lisp coding, I would highly recommend that you give this a look. Now, for me to bring this in, I'm simply going to the command line and I'm using appload, which is exactly what you would do in AutoCAD. And you can see here that I've simply selected the areas.lisp file. I've loaded it into memory with this checkbox. And with this checkbox, I've performed an auto load. This means that every time BricsCAD starts from here on out, the areas.lsp will be loaded as well. So this is very much like the startup suite that you would use in AutoCAD. Once this is loaded in, the files are available. And if you remember, there was a command called apoly that was on there. And sure enough, that's appended to the command list. And I can now use that. So all I do here is just pick an internal point. It evaluates that using a boundary evaluation. And then we can get our alert with a square foot tool. So this simple utility, but it illustrates how easily we can bring Lisp code in and use it so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Now, we're very aware that these are things that you want to work. Last thing would have to do with output. Now, Julie showed you our ability to support page setups, and the printer and plotting interface should have looked extremely familiar. And it really should have looked almost exactly like what you're used to. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go over and I'm going to get a PDF plotter setup or PC3 file that I built in AutoCAD some while ago. I'm going to grab that file and I'm going to copy it over here into the Plotter Manager folder for BricsCAD. I'll simply paste it in there. There it is. So custom ACAD PDF. Remember those, custom ACAD PDF, because we'll see it here in a moment. We'll go ahead into the plot command, and you have to type it correctly. So here's plot, and if we pull this down, and we'll see a big, long, nasty list. Well, there it is. So we could print from that. Now, man, I know that somehow there's a way to hide those system printers. So I'm going to go back into our settings, which I can still leave in type options if I want. And I can say system printer, hide system printers, and I can acknowledge that. Now, as soon as I dismiss this dialog box, this variable will be processed and reinitialized. No button to say apply, no exiting BricsCAD to get there. We just simply come back into plot, and we'll see that we can now select this from a nice clean list of PC3 only files. So obviously we could talk about some more stuff, but what I hope you've seen in this section of the live demo is that we can do a lot of things with BricsCAD that bring over the content that you would expect to migrate, but we do it better, right? We have the equivalent functionality of options, but it works better. We have the equivalent functionality of appload, but we've got Blade, which does Lisp interpretation better. So yeah, it's familiar, but it's also better. What I'm going to do now is go back to my PowerPoint deck and finish off talking about a few more things. Compatibility is key. We understand that you're not going to abandon your current CAD solution and install BricsCAD unless it is highly compatible with everything that you're already doing. So I'm going to go into a few different areas of compatibility that we want to make sure we stress. The first thing is the data formats themselves. BricsCAD saves DWG files directly. We open DWG files directly. We can open DWGs from far back versions of AutoCAD, way farther back than you have in production. We can save back to those too. We support Save As. All the tools that you have used to open and save DWGs are valid here. And also you can save as DWT, just like you do in AutoCAD. So we're using exactly the same files. These are standard data formats. They're not proprietary. They can be used with a universe of third-party software that's out there. Our opinion is that this is your data. It should be in an open standard format so that you can use it the way you feel you should use it without ever being in a proprietary data trap. Compatible from a standpoint of customization. We looked at some of this in the live demo. CUI files for aliases, ribbons, menus. We were able to bring over tool palette content. We were able to run Lisp files directly. We opened sheet sets and template files exactly as you would in your current system. I even brought over a plotter configuration, copied it right into BricsCAD and pulled it up and was available to plot right there. So as you can see, you'll be able to bring the assets you already have into BricsCAD rapidly, so that you do not have to recreate the wheel. And so implementation moves very quickly. That's important. Now, because we are so compatible, we're very, very easy to learn because everything your users are used to is there. Let's talk about it. Legacy commands. E means erase, M means move, L means line because we're alias compatible. You could type in P line and it will work. You could type in DDA TTE and it will work because we use the same legacy command structure. Our interface is organized in the same way with workspaces that are laid out in a way that's familiar and optimized. Heidi, who's answering questions right now, is absolutely pivotal in interface design and has made sure that this is going to be straightforward for you to use. We bring over your custom tools, your palettes, your Lisp routines. Since everything is as it has always been and is located where you would expect, and the workflows are the same, your user's muscle memory takes over and they simply start driving BricsCAD in exactly the same way that they've driven AutoCAD for years and years. This means they train in a matter of hours. And it really is not an exaggeration to say most people really do get it within the first hour of Lunch and Learn. They really do. And then with a few more hours of familiarization on their own independent time and study, they're proficient. Don't believe me, download BricsCAD for yourself and see it work. And Don will tell you how to do that in just a few moments. Now, don't just be satisfied, however, with using BricsCAD just as you have your old system, because there's stuff in BricsCAD that's better. Take advantage of that. Use some of our enhanced AI-driven commands to eliminate your repetitive tasks, to speed your workflows. Take things that used to be 10 minutes to reorganize blocks and turn that into 2 seconds with Blockify. Take things that you used to have to copy around and trim and extend and do construction lines and erase. Take that 10-minute ordeal and turn it into a 5-second session with Copy Guided. These commands are a piece of cake to use. Your learning curve is minutes, not hours. There really is no training to this. If you can use Block, you can use Blockify. If you can use Copy, you can use Copy Guided. And those are just a couple of the AI enhanced tools that we've talked about in this webinar series. We've also talked about our spectacular BIMify, propagate, parameterize, intelligent 3D parametric, and automatch capabilities. So BricsCAD is so much more. We're compatible so that you can get to work today, but we're so much more so that you can get that return on investment and become more productive tomorrow. Now, from a standpoint of flexibility and deployability, I want to make sure that I re-emphasize a few things that Don said earlier and give you a bit of my CAD management spin on it before we move to wrap up. We still offer perpetual licenses, and we allow you to put maintenance on those perpetual licenses so that you can own BricsCAD, so that you're not held hostage to your rental agreement, and that you can use that software for as long as it makes sense for you and as long as your IT infrastructure can support it. Now, if you want to be on subscription, you can, or you can mix subscription and perpetual. For example, if you want perpetual licenses for your permanent users, get those. But if you want to staff up for a few months, you could do that with subscription offerings, say for summer students or for a big project that may only go on for a year. It's your call, really. It's your business. Our licensing should support your requirements. And we do that, and we do it very affordably. As Don mentioned, you can use any language version of BricsCAD you want. You can use BricsCAD from whatever location you happen to sit in, and there's no upcharge for that privilege. So sometimes we say one license for planet Earth, and we really do mean that. We still support network multi-user licensing. Some people will call this floating licensing or concurrent licensing, whatever you want to call it. We still support it. This is not true with the industry leader that's phasing that out at this point. We support full silent installation mode. We're SCCM push friendly, so you don't need a bunch of administrative rights. You don't have a bunch of .NET interruptions or things interrupting your installation. No named user requirements. No named user requirements. We will not compel you to do that. We will not compel you to be on subscription. All this happens in a single BricsCAD Ultimate deployment package that is 408 megabytes. That's not a typo. It's 408 megabytes. It's not gigabytes. And if you use BIM and Mechanical and BricsCAD Pro, the deployer is the same. The only thing that changes is the license code. So CAD managers get one deployment kit done, you're done. That's the last time you'll have to touch it until an upgrade next year, which you'll want because we'll have a lot more cool stuff in it. It's a real pleasure to work with this system from a CAD manager and IT administration point of view. So, hey, it's your business, it's your requirements. We're here to support you with the licensing structure that you need to do business. Now, based on all of this, and based on the affordability and the power and the additional AI-driven functionality that you've seen, I think you'd agree that BricsCAD is an extremely smart CAD solution. It's a family of solutions, actually, that resides all under one installer. My question is, why are you not already using BricsCAD? Or at least, why don't you try it? You should download it and give it a shot. Don't believe me, download it and see it for yourself. And so to allow you to understand how to get your account set up and to download BricsCAD and take a look, I'm going to hand this back over to Don Strimbu. Don, are you there?
I am, Mr. Green, certainly, and I'm ready to show you how to get your hands on BricsCAD. Robert, you should be looking at the web page now, correct?
Indeed, I am. You're good.
Fantastic. Great. So here's the deal, folks. Go to bricsys.com. Up in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, you will see an icon that says download. Great. Click it. We're on our way. Now, this is the single sign-on page for all Bricsys web properties. What you'll notice is there's a couple of things here that may not pop out first time you look at them. Log in with your Bricsys account. Well, I came to download. I don't have one. You can register using Facebook or Google if you wish. Or if you don't have a Bricsys account, you can also register with your email right there. Still have the option to register with Facebook or Google. but most people choose to register with your email. What's next? Click it. You're almost there. Please fill in your credentials. Email, password, confirm it. There's a couple minor rules for your password requirements. Push the register button, and very, very quickly, you'll be ready to download BricsCAD. It's really that easy. And as Robert said, on most high-speed connections, the download just takes a minute. Install it, and you'll see what we really feel is the future of DWG-based CAD systems. Remember, you have access to all of the BricsCAD family of products for 30 days, full commercial license for no charge. It's that easy. However, you may need help. Sometimes things happen. Not a problem. We're here for you. Just send an email to trybricscad@brixis.com. We'll get back to you as soon as we can with the answers you need to really be able to put BricsCAD to the test. That's what we ask you to do. Work with your current projects, the drawings you open every day, move over your menus, move over your tool palettes, try your Lisp routines. We think you'll really, really enjoy the power, speed, flexibility, learnability, and most of all, the affordability of BricsCAD. If you go to the Brixis.com webpage and go to the events page, you'll be able to see the sign up for future webinars like this one. With that, I'd like to say to everybody, thank you so much for spending your time with us today. Please, everybody, be safe, take care. Listen to smart people who say, stay at home, let's flatten this curve, let's get back to some semblance of normalcy. But in the meantime, while you're sheltering in place, what better time to explore the power of BricsCAD? It's a lot better than episodic television, let me tell you, and you're really going to enjoy the benefits that BricsCAD can bring to your business today. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful day.